Muslim University. IEEE, as you all know, is the world's largest technical professional organization dedicated to advancing technology for the benefit of humanity. I, on behalf of the entire student branch, wish you all a very happy IEEE Day. IEEE Day was celebrated the first time in history when engineers worldwide and IEEE members gathered to share their technical ideas in 1884. So, worldwide celebrations demonstrate the ways thousands of IEEE members in local communities join together to collaborate on ideas that leverage technology for a better tomorrow. Now engraved in its essence, the IEEE Day's theme is leveraging technology for a better tomorrow. While the world benefits from what's new, IEEE focuses on what's next. Now, the IEEE student branch of our university is one of the most vibrant branches in the IEEE UP section, R10. This branch has been tremendously active in the difficult times of the COVID-19 pandemic too, and we've won many prestigious awards like Outstanding Branch at the state level. Today, on the occasion of IEEE Day, we have Ms. Susan Land, IEEE President and CEO 2021, who will be guiding our audience on an extremely important skill set, which is CV and resume building. Over to Ifra.
Thank you, Bhai. A very pleasant good evening to one and all. Thank you for being with us today. I, Ifran Lead, Coordinator Event Conceptualization, IEEE Student Branch, Ieee Muslim University. Along with our diligent members who have been supporting us together, we extend a very warm welcome to everyone present here. So without any delay, I cordially invite Ms. Mahina Mahmood, General Secretary of IEEE AMU Student Branch, to give a delightful introduction of our speaker. Over to you, Mahina.
Thank you so much, Ifra. Assalamu alaikum and good evening. A very happy IEEE Day to all of you. This is Mahina Mahmood, jointly serving as the General Secretary of the STB and as the Chairperson of WIE Affinity Group. Today, I feel extremely honored and elated to share the screen with such a great personality, Susan Cathy Land, 2021 IEEE President and CEO. Ma'am, first of all, I would like to bring in your knowledge that we at IEEE Student Branch AMU have recently launched our Women in Engineering Affinity Group, and we are doing our best to influence the respected audience about the social cause behind the WIE group. Being given the opportunity to introduce the honorable speaker, I would like to highlight some of Ms. Land's great achievements. Susan Cathy Land is a program manager for the US Department of Defense's Missile Defense Agency. She has more than 30 years of industry experience. She has also served as the 2018 Vice President, IEEE Technical Activities, also served as 2 additional terms on the IEEE Board of Directors. Ma'am has been an active member of IEEE Standards Association for more than 20 years and served as the Computer Society Vice President for Standards in 2004. She was the recipient of 2007 IEEE Standards Medallion. An IEEE Fellow, Ms. Land is the author and co-author of a number of texts and publications. Thank you so much, ma'am. We at IEEE Student Branch AMU are entirely grateful for you for accepting our invitation and making this IEEE Day extra special with your presence. Thank you so much, ma'am. Over to you, Ifra.
Thank you so much, Mahina, for such an insightful introduction. We all of us welcome you to Ieee Muslim University, ma'am. Hope you'll have a great time here, virtually, of course. So, yeah, I'm very pleased to welcome Mr. Mohammed Zaid sir. He is currently serving as the branch counselor of IEEE Student Branch of AMU to give the welcome address. Over to you, Zaid sir.
I guess he is facing some connectivity issue. Ifra, you can just welcome Ms. Susan Land and we can proceed forward.
Okay. So definitely our chief guest merely requires no introduction. She's well known as the IEEE President and CEO. Moreover, she is profoundly loved and respected by all. With that being said, let us call upon none other than Miss Susan Kayland. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the kind introductions, and thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to your group. I'm going to share my slides. Actually, I'm going to share my entire screen. Let's see. Because I'm going to do some, can you see this or not yet?
Not yet.
Okay, hold on. Give me a second. Okay, now you should be seeing yourself. Can you see it now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So yeah, I have some trickiness in my slides, so we'll see if it works this way. I usually share a window. All right. So again, I'm really happy to speak to you today. It's my honor and privilege. I try to support any invitation I get to speak. Sometimes, according to the time zones, it doesn't work out. I try not to speak in the middle of the night, so I'm glad this worked out. IEEE Day is indeed a great opportunity for us all to gather together, and I hope you do enjoy my talk today. I'm going to be talking today about how to improve your resumes and your interviewing skills. And this talk developed because a young man who I'm friends with, a student in IEEE, sent me his resume to look at. And to be perfectly blunt, I was horrified by what he shared with me. So I worked with him on his resume. We improved it. And then that's how this talk developed. I figured that if he needed help, that many other students might need help. So that's how I built this talk, and I've been giving it to students and young professionals. So I'm here to talk to you about how to build a resume that will stand out and how to prepare for an interview and prepare a narrative that will land you the job you want. I'm going to provide you with some resume writing and interviewing tips and share with you some of the most common mistakes. Hiring managers and HR recruiters rarely settle for the type of dull, dry recitation of facts that most job seekers include on their resumes. They're seeking a different type of insight as they try to determine whether your experience and talents can benefit their company. Your goal should be to ensure that your resume and interview presentation helps them to obtain the insight that they're looking for and avoid some of the most common mistakes made by potential candidates looking for jobs. So when I prepare a talk, and this one's called Stand Out from the Crowd, I do give some thought about how I title my presentations. The hardest problem job candidates have during the job application process is standing out among other applicants. On average, each corporate job attracts about 250 resumes. Of those candidates, 4 to 6 will get called for an interview, and only one gets the job. So to get the job you will want to be noticeably different or better. And you want to give people a good reason not to forget you. So why do I care? Well, you heard a little bit about my IEEE background, but I think this is important because I have worked for a variety of companies. I work for the Department of Defense. I'm a civil servant right now, but I've worked for for-profit. I worked many, many years for industry, and I've also worked for a nonprofit, MITRE, which is a federally funded research and development organization. And I've been responsible for delivering software and systems products for many years. I'm a product manager, that's my job. And I've been a hiring manager for many years, and I've screened many, many resumes over the years, and I've conducted many interviews. I still do that today. I'm a hiring manager. What I've seen is that too many times great candidates, particularly people in technical fields, present poor resumes. And as a manager, you have to be very careful screening resumes and during interviews, particularly with technical people, so that you don't miss a good candidate. I care because I think it's critical that we tell people what we're looking for when we see resumes, when we're looking at resumes, and when we interview, so that the process is as fair and open as possible. So before I dive in, I think it's important for you to get some perspective of what it's like when you are on the other side of the hiring process, when you're a manager or an HR person trying to recruit or bring in a new hire. It's important for you to understand that there are rules and requirements and policies as how the process is conducted. It's unique within each company. An individual looking for a job, it's important for you to understand that the person conducting your interview has some strict guidelines, usually, unless it's a very small company. The way the interview is being conducted is prescribed by the company, by company policy, and it's important for you to understand this because there are trends right now as how interviews are conducted. Interviews used to be based on simple technical ability, and we used to call them stump the dummy interviews. They would ask you a very hard or complex technical question, and they tried to find the most technically astute individuals. But now the soft skills are more important, and I give a talk on soft skills. And they're trying to find out how people can work together, because teams are very important these days. During recent years, interviews have moved toward competency-based interviews. They look for competency, soft skills, technical skills, a mix in submitted resumes. And I'm going to talk more about this in detail. There's some controversy regarding whether this also allows recruiters to find the best candidates, but this is how things are right now. It's important that if you ever are on the hiring process, on the manager side or the hiring side, that you try to relax and take the parameters that have been prescribed to you by the company in mind, but take time to meet the person, understand the person that you're interviewing, make sure they're relaxed, and see if they're a good fit. All right, so let's talk about how to develop a resume that will help you get an interview. All right, so I'm going to begin by being very blunt. I've seen so many resumes that look like they were put together as an afterthought. I don't think people take enough time on their resumes. They look like they were put together for a completely different job opening, or they have grammatical errors. So the necessary question you need to ask yourself is, do you really want the job that you're applying for? So if you are, then you need to be prepared to work hard for it. You know, you're working hard in school. You need to work that hard to get a job. Research the company. Look carefully at the job description. Look over your resume. Each resume should be tailored for the job description, right? You shouldn't just have one resume that you're sending out blanket for every job description or every job application. Should you add or remove any items? Should you change anything? Should you emphasize or add, some skills that are on there, or add anything? It's important not to only think of your technical skills, but you need to think of soft skills. And I'll talk about these as well. Is there past experience that's not included on your resume that relates specifically to the job opening or organization's mission or goals? Sometimes you might need to get professional help in building your resume. I know that when I applied for my government job, I'd been working in industry for many, many years, and a government application or resume is completely different than a one for industry. So I did get professional help. It was expensive, but it paid off, and I got the job that I was applying for. So you just have to think about if you really want the job or not. So I'm going to talk a minute about soft skills, and because they need to be on your resume. And these are things that are intrinsic to who you are. These are things that are transferable across industry. Like, it doesn't matter if you're an educator, an automobile mechanic, or an engineer. If you're a good communicator, that's a soft skill. This translates, right? It doesn't matter what field you're in. So let me talk a minute about soft skills and hard skills and the difference. So I talked about communication, right? That translates, and they're transferable across industries. People tend to start with a natural set of abilities. These are soft skills. Another difference is that hard skills are based on the acquisition of like technical knowledge, where soft skills might be related to more emotional intelligence. It's like IQ versus EQ, that people refer to it that way. You can see some examples of soft and hard skills on the chart. For soft skills, a person might be described as detail-oriented or working well under tight deadlines. And hard skills might be some programming languages or like a specific bachelor's degree. Soft skills are important, and they're valued by recruiters and hiring managers. And I'll take the opportunity to echo the sentiments of the CEO of LinkedIn when I say that I have technical people that work for me who can solve complex problems, but few who are equipped with the skills to run teams, negotiate contracts, or present to customers. And these are the people that are very highly valued. So I'm going to talk for a minute about why it's so important not to only include your technical skills on your resume, but your soft skills. And remember back to, how many resumes are put in for every job opening. And this is a differentiator, right? Your soft and your hard skills. You need to reflect both on your resume so potential employers see a more complete picture of who you are. Employers seek out individuals and want to keep and promote individuals who have a complement of soft and hard skills. And the recent data that I found reflects this. It shows that 72% of CEOs believe that soft skills are more important to the success of their business than hard skills. And 94% of recruiters believe that top-notch soft skills outweigh experience. And 94% of recruiting professionals believe an employee with stronger soft skills has a better chance of being promoted to a leadership position than an employee with more years experience but with weaker soft skills. So these are pretty strong indications that people are looking for people with a mix of technical skills and strong soft skills. The bottom line is that in every report and during my research and study that I found is that, and from my own experience as a hiring manager, is that strong soft skills are what separate the good from the great. So just the 5 soft skills I recommend that you try to include on your resume are communication, examples of communication, teamwork, critical and analytical thinking, interpersonal skills, and work ethic. And I'll provide some examples of how you can put these on your resume later. Okay, so as you heard from the previous data I cited, when recruiters and hiring managers are assessing job candidates, they're looking for the best of both worlds, right? Someone who's not only proficient technically, but someone who's also the right fit, someone who can work in a teaming environment, someone who can communicate, right, who can think critically. So it's important to highlight your soft skills and give employers an idea of how quickly you can adapt and solve problems, whether you can be relied on to follow through, and how effectively you can lead and motivate others. So you should present yourself as a total package to your potential employer. For example, you could write, you want to present yourself as a candidate who is technically competent while being able to understand business benefits and communicate effectively with clients. All right. So the word resume comes from French and means summary. So we know that resumes are used to highlight your career, background, and skills, and you're trying to land a job, right? So, but it is your first impression that you're making. It's critically important to customize your resume for the job you're applying for. I said that before, and don't forget that. The biggest mistake that people make is they create a single resume and use a resume to apply for multiple jobs. Research the company, read and understand the job requirements. As I said, incorporate soft skills, and there's a technique you can use, and it's called the STAR technique. And I'll talk about this in a moment, and you can, I do give a talk on the STAR technique in detail, but I'll talk about that in a minute. Use numbers and details to highlight your achievements, and then proofread. You can look at the footer at the bottom of this slide, and I know that when I get a resume and it's full of grammatical errors, I just stop reading. It goes to the bottom of the pile. It's just the worst thing. People spend an average of between 6 and 8 seconds per resume, unless they're interested in it, and then they pull it out of the pile. So if you see a grammatical error in a resume, you're done. You stop reading it. Ask someone else to proofread your resume for you, and make sure you clean it up. Make sure your layout and presentation are clean, and you have clearly labeled section headings and spacing. And I have an example resume we'll go through before and after and show you. People spend entirely too much worry on how it looks, and it should just be on a clean, you don't have to worry about the format so much. All right, so what is the STAR method? All right, so the STAR method is a technique that can help you prepare both for your resume and for interviewing. It's amazing. It'll help you construct a resume that will provide potential employers with a more complete picture of your capabilities. It does take some effort. It will help you construct an organized, specific, and thoughtful resume that will showcase your accomplishments, skills, and knowledge in a framework that is repeatable and one that will align with stories you can repeat during your interview process. So STAR asks you to think of a situation in which you were involved that had a positive outcome. Describe the tasks involved, specify what actions you took to achieve results, and then the results that followed as a result of those actions. So the first thing is to carefully consider the job advertisement, read the description, and then if the job is a good fit for you, determine 5 to 7 skills that you most want to highlight in your resume for the target job. And I've got some example skills there, right? Some soft skills and some hard skills. Now, make a list, identify your key accomplishments, and list the key skills you used. And then think about things you've created or built, ideas you've developed, people or projects you've directed, problems you've solved, or challenges you've overcome. All right. Next, take the two. This is I'll show you another way to do this. This is one way, but there's another way I think is easier. Next, take the 2 lists and match your accomplishments that most closely demonstrate the skills required by the job description and begin drafting your resume information. You can start with resume bullet points with the action verbs and begin with your most relevant skill impact, eliminate any unnecessary language, and then quantify your impact. Or if you can't quantify your impact, it doesn't need to be on your resume, right? How did you make a difference? That's what people are looking for. And there's an example, right? Led a cross-functional team of 6 in development of innovative software product to predict COVID-19 spread, launched 1 week ahead of schedule with a saving of 10%. That is what people are looking for. It's got a soft skill. I led a cross-functional team of 6, right? That's the soft skill leadership. And then the quantification and the impact is launched 1 week ahead of schedule with a saving of 10%. That's what people are looking for on a resume. It's short, to the point, and it has the impact, the soft and hard skill. All right, so here's another. This is my preferred way of doing the STAR method, and it's using a grid. And if you use this technique, you can also, it'll help you prepare for interviews, because you can save these grids, and then the story part comes naturally, and you can use them to prepare for an interview when you ask questions. You start with the situation, and it says, what is the problem, right? Be as specific as possible. And then you write it out. Served as a project team lead for a Ford Motor Company and was responsible for the design of the 2019 Super Duty truck's door robotics assembly. So you were trying to design the Super Duty truck's door robotics assembly, but you were the project team lead, right? That's what it was, your responsibility. What were the issues? Well, when I was hired, the assembly support for all Super Duty trucks was performed manually, which resulted in production delays and quality control variations, right? And under my lead, what step did you take? Under my technical leadership, the production execution, I led the team to effort to design 2019 Super Duty robotics assembly, implementing new quality controls, improved network integration, revised training for new production hires. What was the final outcome? Within 4 months, the company's on-time fulfillment record increased from 72 to 98%, and quality call-outs decreased from 36 to 2%. All right, now you cannot put all that on your resume, but you can save this, because when you go into interview, they'll look at your resume and they'll say, well, tell us about that job at Ford Motor Company. And you can just go through this, right? You've got your story already, and you can say, well, I served as a project team lead, and then when I was hired, and then under my technical leadership, and then and you've got your story. You can just run through it, right? You're ready and you're prepared. But on your resume, it would look like this. I led the effort to design the 2019 door robotics assembly at Ford Motor Company, implementing new quality controls, improved network integration, revised training for new production hires, on-time fulfillment record increases from 72 to 98, quality call-out decreases from 36 to 2. So that's what it should look like, something like that, right? So you've got a short paragraph for your resume that's very impactful, and that will get somebody's attention. And then you've also got this to help you prepare for the interview. All right. There's also some examples of how you can add some soft skills to your resume. Communication, right? So if you've ever presented a paper or authored a paper, anything like that, you can put those on your resume. Here's some examples. If you've ever chaired a working group or chaired a section or chapter, you can put that on here as an example of teamwork, or led something at work or school. You can put those on there. Those are examples. They would go in a different section, but as activities or papers, but that's where they would go. All right, so I want to go through a before and after of a resume, and let's see, talk about that. So let's go before resume, and let me know if you can see this. It's going to take a minute to come up. Someone tell me that you can see this resume.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes, we
good.
can see it.
Awesome. All right. So this is what this is that actual resume that was sent to me and before, and I have permission to use it, but I've sanitized it so you don't know whose it is. But I'll start at the top. So make sure that when you're sending your resume to somebody that you don't use, like, if you have a website, I would not point them to, if you have a website that shows programming artifacts, I would not send that out. I would wait until you're interviewed and then you can share that with them. I would just have an email, but if you send them an email, have it be your IEEE email, right? Not a Gmail address or something like that. But if you are compelled to send them a website address, have it be something professional, not, smithrocks.com. And then this goal at the top, sometimes people put a generic objective statement. People don't even read those, right? To be associated with an organization to exhibit my inherent skills. Who cares? Who cares? It should align with the company or the specific job, right? This is not something you want to put on your resume. These headers just take up space. People spend a lot of time trying to be really crazy and format their resume in these blocks. Don't do that. It's just hard to read, and it wastes space. Don't put your secondary and primary schools. Just put any college experience, right? And then this paragraph does not describe a task or a difference that made to achieve a goal, right? So manage the whole team to take faithful decisions, responsibilities, help my employee as well as customers to meet their needs, worked with the web development lead for the same, modifies all websites necessaries up to the date, and hence to bring up my company. Well, the grammar's not good, right? If you're applying for English companies, I mean, just being blunt, the grammar and the language is terrible. But it's who cares? What did you do? I mean, this is just doing your job you're supposed to do. What difference did you make? Okay, and you'll see the difference when we go to the next one. And then a same here, right? An artificial intelligence application made by Python 3, PyTorch, which analyzes human voice and process. Okay, who cares? And then same, it goes all the way down, right? And listing programming languages, platforms, people do that. That's fine. And then, all right, so we'll go to the next one. All right, so this is the after, and you can see we've got an address, a professional email, and then the phone number, and then profile. And here's what the profile is. It's better to put a profile because that's really what they're looking for. Advanced web developer and computer systems programmer with leadership experience in structuring, developing, and implementing interactive websites. Academic credentials reinforced by practical programming capability gained during internships and work experience. That gives a recruiter much more information. And then areas of expertise, advanced programming and design skills, Java, C, HTML, application development, strong collaborative skills, website optimization, excellent problem-solving skills, IT project management. So that's a mix of hard and soft skills right up front. And then, so work experience. Led development teams of 7 in the creation of dynamic websites from conception to implementation, utilizing PHP, HTML, JavaScript, consistently met program schedule and budget targets. Now, this was an individual who was in school, undergraduate, right? So just because you're in school undergraduate doesn't mean that you can't, if you've done some internships, if you've done some, he did some work on websites in his own time, so you can make these sound, better. Right? So tested website and performed troubleshooting prior to deployment, reducing post-deployment problem reporting by 42%. So, you just have to think about what you've done. So that same mobile charger project, wireless charging of mobile phones and efficient usage of non-renewable resources using basic concept of piezoelectricity for charging the present-day gadgets like mobile phones, awarded with funding from Superfund for the research project, mobile charger. So Python, project lead of Python. So what basically consistently met modeling production targets and imaging requirements, right? So if you did a program and you successfully did the program, you can say you consistently met your requirements and your targets, which is a good thing, right? All right. And then other, put all the other, like everything that you are involved in. If it's IEEE, that's great. Put your professional memberships. And then the other thing is if you're going to list references, just list your references. Don't list their job titles. Just you can say references available upon request is generally what is done on a resume. You don't list their names. Okay. All right. So next, the interview, we'll talk about that. So one of the most common interview styles today is behavior-based interview. And sometimes they'll put you, a newer technique is they put people in a group or in a room and they do group interviews, or they'll put you in a room and observe you. So be aware of those situations. But what I'm going to talk about is this behavior-based interview technique. And this is where managers want to know if you're going to be a good fit in their technical teams. They ask people to describe experiences they've had that demonstrate behaviors in the company they think are important for a particular position. So you might be asked to describe a time that you were required to make a decision under pressure. And as with the resume presentation, you can use the STAR technique, right? So you go through the STAR chart the same way, right? Listen to the question and describe this challenging situation, explain the task, explain the actions, and explain the results. So it's the same thing, right? And if you've prepared your resume using STAR, you can use those grids to help you prepare. But even if you haven't prepared for a specific question that they're asking you, think about it in the same way that you prepared for your resume, responding, with the STAR, because you should describe a situation, explain how you attacked it, explain your actions and the impact that you had, because that's what they want to hear. So as you ready yourself for the interview, do some research on the company. That's really important. By researching the company, it shows that you did your homework, that you're interested in the company, and not just haphazardly interviewing. During the interview, you may be asked why you want to come work for the company, and you be prepared, respond with a specific answer. Do some web research to see if there are any blogs on the web with interview questions where people have related their interview experiences with the company, and prepare from these posted lists. Use materials on sites like glassdoor.com or indeed.com. These sites will tell you what to expect from the process, and be prepared with 3 to 5 key selling points as to why you're the best candidate, and work these questions into responses like, I have great leadership skills. For example, as you see from my resume, I was team lead on project XYZ, and this aligns very well with this program in your company, or the job application, or the job I'm applying for, or things like that. And lastly, be sure you have some questions for the interviewer. They'll want to hear from you during the interview, and you can say things like, what would someone need to do to be successful in this role from your perspective? You can ask them that. Or you can say, I read the job description, and then describe your understanding of the role, and then ask, is there anything missing or that differs from your expectations from what was listed in the job description? Many times companies will have a job description or a listing, and it's generic. And really what they want to hire you for is maybe something totally different, and you need to understand that. So on this slide, I've listed what I would classify as sort of mid-level technical team types of interview questions. And they're mixed. They might be mixed with more specific technical questions, but it's important to remember to keep your answers brief. Don't go on and on. Remember that STAR technique. Highlight past skills that align with the job that you're trying to get. A big mistake people make is they get nervous and they just talk and talk and talk. But the best way is to be prepared. and to practice. Do your research on those blogs and see how people recommend, and how they have answered questions. So people will ask you open-ended questions like, tell me about yourself. And the best way to be prepared for this is what's known as an elevator speech. An elevator speech is a clear, brief commercial about yourself. It's something you can say in 30 seconds, like on an elevator ride. And remember to try to connect it back to the job application. Because that's why you're there, right? Don't tell them about your mother and father and your sister and your brother. You can say things like maybe about why you think the job is important, and why you think you should have it. So let's say I was asked, about myself. I would say that 3 things for them that are the most important for them to know about me are that I'm a program manager with a diverse background, with a proven track record for product development and for delivering programs on time and within budget. And I have a demonstrated ability to manage diverse and geographically dispersed teams, and also manage acquisition budgets of up to $1.2 billion. And I can expand if you would like, and then if they want me to, I could provide examples of programs that I've managed. But the key is to have that elevator speech down pat and practice it and be ready to go. So there are some classic trip-up questions, right, and that they can ask you. They might ask you, why are you looking for a job? And you need to be prepared with that to answer that. And if you're currently working, don't criticize your current employer. They might ask you, tell me about the worst boss you've ever had. Again, don't be prepared to answer it, and you can research on the web some recommended ways to answer that. They'll say, how would others describe you? They're looking for arrogance here. Don't answer that question in an arrogant way. And then they would, the funniest one, I asked a candidate one time, if you could choose any company to work for, where would you go? And they answered they wanted to go work for Google. And I was not working at Google at the time. So you better respond with the company you're interviewing for, and why. So these are just a few questions that you need to be prepared for. So you will probably be asked some negative questions, but think positive. These are designed to elicit a negative response and are designed to get you to go beyond your comfort zone and find out what kind of person you are. Don't fall for them. It's important to be honest. You should stay away from personal events or rely on professional experiences, and be sure to showcase what you have learned from your experience. And don't ever cast blame on anyone else while telling a story. They want to know about your experience. And so here's some examples of some negative questions. So if you're a college student just graduating, they will probably ask you, what courses have you liked least? And you could respond in a positive way. You could say, well, actually, I found something positive about all my classes that I've liked. For example, I found thermodynamics to be very tough, but I found that the practical application of the theories from this course have helped me greatly. And they might ask you in what ways, so be prepared to follow up. What is your greatest weakness? I found it challenging to present my ideas in front of a crowd. I found I was becoming a career obstacle, so I joined my local IEEE chapter and started working and presenting in front of local volunteers. And this helped me to continue to improve in this area, right? So you can talk about a weakness and how you work to improve it. What is your biggest regret in life? You can say, my team failed to deliver a product on time. We missed a major incentive because we didn't really put the time in requirements development up front. Since then, I make sure we talk about this with our clients, things like that. So you can talk about, biggest regrets, weakness, that kind of stuff, but turn it into a positive. Those are ways to do that. So it's rare, but it does occur that you may go into an interview and somebody may ask you an inappropriate or illegal questions. These vary from country to country. And on this slide, I've listed questions that are illegal in the United States. But you need to check for lists in your country. There are many other topics to discuss in an interview, and it's unfortunate when these are brought up. But if these do come up, something that's illegal, you need to be able to deflect or change the topic. So, for example, if someone asks in the United States, are you married? I might say, well, my marital status doesn't affect my ability to do this job. And then I would be prepared to quickly, change the topic and follow up with a question about the job or the company or something, or redirect and say, well, why would you think my marital status would affect the job? Is there something I need to know about the job? Maybe it's a lot of travel, right? If the travel is more than that was indicated in the job posting, I might want to know that. So, but you need to be aware, right? If some of these questions are asked, you may want to reconsider working either for that manager or that company. There's something that's an indication something's not quite right if they're asking those questions. So during the interview process, some basic things you need to think about are how you engage with others, your body language. Are you paying attention and actively listening? Do you look at people in the eye when they're talking to you? Are you letting the manager or the interviewer finish their sentences? Are you asking them questions? You need to appear interested and engaged. Think about your tone of voice and the cadence of your voice. Are you speaking too softly, too quickly? You need to make sure that you're speaking clearly so they can understand you. Stay engaged, and most importantly, believe in yourself. So I'm getting close to wrapping up, but before I do, I wanted to highlight there are a couple of great IEEE resources that are available. There is an IEEE job site, and you can upload your resume, and IEEE professionals will give you your resume preference over other job seekers. And you can also, the website address is jobs@IEEE.org. And there are, you can see how the jobs are browsed. There are also IEEE resources from the Computer Society, jobs@computer.org. You can look for research and internships. And then PES, Power and Energy, also has a job site. So you can post your resumes, look for opportunities. Those are great. So do take advantage of those. So to summarize, to get the job you want, there are a variety of resources available. Do your research, right? Both on the internet and take advantage of IEEE resources. Remember to target your resume. Each company and each specific job are unique. Your resume should be paired and tailored to each job. And remember the STAR approach to include both soft and hard skills. Be prepared for the interview. Research the company and the types of questions you might be asked. There are lots of resources. You should never go into an interview unprepared. And then follow up on each application. Be sure to contact the company after the interview regarding the status of your application. That is certainly okay to do. Again, thank you for your time and attention. If you have any questions or follow up, my email address is skland@IEEE.org. I'm happy to receive email, and I'm not on Twitter anymore, but I am on Instagram. So there you go, and I'll stop sharing. And I'm happy to take any questions if you're ready.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for such an amazing session, sharing your experiences and all the stats, the IEEE resources with us. We name this webinar as Stand Out from the Crowd. So I think with your assistance and advices, all of us can clearly stand out from the crowd.
Okay. Ifra, please wait. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Okay, so I think, ma'am, if you allow, we can take one or two questions.
Sure.
Okay.
I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you, ma'am. Uh, I think, ma'am, one of the from many countries like India, many students are now filling for MS and PhD programs, and the first thing is that to build a good CV or resume, which you have already told. So, can you, ma'am, specifically point out to the students that if they are going for MS or some in United States or in Europe, then what things they can highlight in their CV or resume?
Right. As I mentioned, it's important that they uh, highlight their. It does whatever they highlight. They need to make sure that they show the impact. If they're going for an MS or a PhD or whatever, they need to make sure that that STAR technique that I mentioned, that they if they're describing some student activity or they're describing some work experience or internship or whatever, that they describe the problem, whatever the activity, their involvement, the impact they had, and the result, right, in quantifiable terms. Because, I might get a stack of resumes and all they say is, I did this. Basically, I worked my job and I have this programming skill. And I see 20 that look the same and I don't care. But I'll see one resume where the person has said, they show you on their resume what they did at that job and the impact they have. And that's the person you call in an interview, or that's the person you want on your MS or PhD program, right? So it's important that you think about what you're putting on your resume so that it translates and people see who you are as an individual and the impact you had where you were.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Any other question? Drishti, would you like to ask something? Pass.
I'm seeing some questions in the chat, and somebody asked, how many pages should a resume contain? And I don't think there should be a page limit. I mean, I have a resume that's like 13 pages long, but the important thing is that unless they specify a page limit, what's important is that it's error-free and that you make sure that the information there is as I described in my talk, right? That's what's important. I mean, I have a long career, right? I've worked for 35 years. So there's a lot of stuff to put down and they want to see everything. For government work, if you don't put everything, you don't get credit for the years. So it has to be long. But if you're a student, 1 to 2 pages would probably be good. There's another question, how to know if you're not bragging too much about your achievements. So have somebody else look it over. That's what I would do. But I think if you stick with, you can research online the STAR technique. You don't have to go just by my slides. And there are lots of examples, but I think if you keep it at a quantifiable, I led a team of 6. This was the problem set. These were the results. I don't think that's bragging. Just keep it objective. So somebody said how to make a good resume. I showed you an example of what I thought was a good resume. There are lots of examples online. I can send my talk to your chapter, and you can use my example if you want. But there's lots of examples online. So there's no constraint on how many pages. No, I don't. I'd rather see good content. The constraint is on whether the content is good or bad. That's my opinion. What hard skills would you look for as an employer in electrical engineering undergraduate fresh from college? It would depend on the job, right? So that's why you need to look at the job description. It would depend if you're an electrical engineer and you're applying for a RF centric job or an optics job, it just depends. So you have to look at the job description. Is there any feedback link that will be for, oh, okay, I don't know about that. All right. And then somebody has a hand raised. I don't know what to do about the hand raised.
You can unmute and ask any questions, Sab, if you want to.
Okay, ma'am, you said that it depends on the job description about the hard skills that you would look for as an employer. But I wonder if there are any common skills that are expected in an electrical engineering undergraduate fresh from college or university.
Well, I
That-
mean, so I look at the university and the GPA, and there's certain cutoffs for GPA. If you have a C average or below, we usually don't hire. So that's just the hard facts. And where I work, you have to have be able to get you have to be a U.S. citizen or a visa holder, and have to be able to get a secret clearance or above. So there's some unique requirements for my, line of work. But I think, for companies like Google or Microsoft or those kinds of companies, they have different requirements. But I think that mainly they just look at what you studied in school, and that says it all, right? If you're from an accredited school. But you have to look at the job description. If they say that they're looking for somebody that can do chip design, your resume better be targeted to chip design, or you will not get a call for that job. Like I said, every job is unique. And if you think you're going to develop one resume and then send it out for a bunch of jobs, you're not going to be getting very many calls. I'll give you this example. Really good guy, chair of student chapter in North Texas, had a 3.98 average overall, undergraduate and master's. Brilliant guy. He called me. He said he's married. His wife is expecting a baby, and he said, I'm not getting any callbacks on my resume. I'm trying to find a job. And I said, well, send me your resume. And he sent me his resume. And again, I went, ooh, yuck. So we worked on his resume, right? Redid his resume. And there were things, I said, if I look at your resume and I give you an advice, you can take it or not. Do you want to work on your resume with me? And he said, yeah. So we worked on his resume, and there were things, I gave him some homework because there were some things I couldn't fix, but he did it. He sent out his resume when we fixed it. And within 2 weeks, he had 7 interviews, and he got 3 job offers. So I'm telling you guys, this works, right? So, and the gentleman whose resume, the example we used, he got a job offer. He ended up getting hired. So you have to think about this as your life. This is so important. It's so important.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Ifra, you can now take over, and I guess.
So there's a question that says, I would like to highlight that many students believe that the ideal resume has 2 to 3 pages. However, students don't have sufficient work and they elaborate unnecessarily. Right. No, 1-page resume is perfect. 1-page resume, they don't have to be 2 to 3 pages. If it's 1 page and it has the information, like in those blocks I described, that shows, I was a student, I led a team for this research project, I did IEEE work, I worked in my chapter, that kind of stuff, and it's 1 page, that's much better than 2 pages. If I have a 2-page resume and it's full of fluff, I'm going to throw it in the garbage. I want 1 page of good information.
Abbas, as I think ma'am may be having other meetings as well, so we can close.
Yes. We're just concluding the session. Ifra and Jay can take over from now.
Okay, so without taking any more of your time, I would like to call Javeria Sajid, the General Secretary of IEEE AMU Student Branch, to give the word of thanks. Over to you, Javeria.
Hello everyone, this is Javeria Sajid, serving as the Joint Secretary of IEEE Student Branch, AMU. I am truly honored to deliver the word of thanks for today's amazing session on the behalf of our whole team. First of all, I would like to thank Ms. Susan Kathy ma'am for sparing her valuable time and enlightening us with her thoughts and experiences. The tips and advices from today's session will surely help us in the long run. I hope you had a great time with us at Aligarh Muslim University virtually, but I hope we can meet offline sometime in the future. Again, ma'am, words cannot express how great it is to have you here. With your knowledge and guidance, I hope we'll be connected in the future. Please accept this small token of appreciation from our team. A virtual memento for you, ma'am. Thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you so much.
I would like to thank Mr. Mohammed Zaid sir, our branch counselor, Dr. Tariq sir, branch coordinator, Dr. Rehan sir, branch coordinator and vice chairperson UP section region 10 for their constant support and guidance. I would also like to thank our patient and sincere audience for joining us today. I hope you guys have gained a lot from this session. And lastly, a big shout out to the IEEE student branch AMU for conducting such great sessions. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us today.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am.